should have a minute to film. Yep. Okie doke. So here's the way we're going to be doing this.
Sorry, you don't mind if I just... No, it's going to make a joke about Slavoj Žižek and cocaine. But...
This is why I love you. Okay, so I've only got the one microphone. The best way to talk to it is either a few inches back from like this, or quieter, you can get closer to it and speak right to this. I'll kind of motion my hand out if I want to take the mic back. You can also pick up my voice from across, so if I got like just a quick question, I'll just throw it at you. And I'm going to go ahead and get the audio recording. Testing in 1, 2, 3. Hello, my name is Brennan Lippert, and welcome back to A Perfectly Regular Day in Alaska. I am here with a new guest, Riley Hickman, pulled off right from the campus of UAF. Just to get us started, Riley, could you just give me, in your own words, who you are, what you are, and just what defines you?
Wow, you don't start with the easy questions, do you? Jesus Christ. Fuck.
What's your name? What's your age?
Yeah, I'm Riley Hickman. I'm 26. I'm studying political science because political science for me is like a train wreck. I can't look away.
Where were you born?
I was born in Montana, moved up here in like 4th grade, so the majority of my life at this point. I have become acclimated and unable to live outside of the state anymore because of heat. I melt if it's 70 degrees or more, so that's that.
So outside of your life as a student and an Alaskan, well, I guess that all ties into that.
Yeah.
But, what kind of role do you take in the world?
Aspiring agent of chaos and real life shit poster. Also occasional amateur therapist. Because people keep bringing me their personal problems and I don't know why. I spend a lot of time, if I'm in public, chances are I will or have already ranted at length, loudly, about something. Generally something political, or maybe it's something I'm particularly enthusiastic about, or, God, the habit is so ingrained in me that my family calls them my corn and salt lectures, because there was a couple of particularly memorable rants about how, for instance, corn is not a vegetable and should not be served as a vegetable, and anyone who does so that's like putting a tomato in a fruit salad. It's just bad. Don't do it. And then also, I watched one documentary about salt, okay, and just exploded with facts about it to my family. It was embarrassing. I try not to do it, except when I'm in a supportive environment with friends, because I know it can get irritating. But sometimes it just bursts out. I'm also frequently known to air extremely loud and controversial opinions, like the fact that Thomas the Tank Engine is in fact a furry.
Okay.
He's a train furry.
Right, okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Optimus Prime is a furry.
Well, how would you define furry?
Well, I mean, the furry fandom, quote unquote, is basically a fandom around generally anthropomorphized animals, but the fact of the matter is there are people who call themselves furries who are also like into anthropomorphized other things. Not necessary. God, never, ever, ever look up anthropomorphic planes.
Oh, I've seen it. Well, all right. So I feel like usually as the interviewer, I try not to intervene very greatly, but you're making a claim here that I just have to dig in a little bit more to. So, based off my understanding of the word furry, right? A furry is anyone who enjoys anthropomorphic animals in any form of media, be it comics, be it videos and animation, be it real life in fursuits and conventions, be it pornography, be it whatever. They enjoy media content that involves characters of any degree of anthropomorphized animal, essentially a cross between a human conscious sapient character and a wild horny dog. All right, something like that. That would be a furry. What you're claiming to me is that those other fetishists on the internet, including those who draw, big-breasted, what are they? Blue Angels, I think is what their names are, the Air Force guys. They draw those planes with, and they like stand up and they make.
Oh Christ!
Why? I feel like you're making like a no true Scotsman. I'm not like a reverse no true Scotsman argument here. That because people who enjoy anthropomorphized planes and trains are also into furry fandom, that makes the boobed planes and trains furry as well?
That is one line of evidence, yes.
Well,
An alternative name for the furry fandom is just the anthro fandom, which extremely lame, extremely online people use because they don't like being associated with furries. Despite the fact that they are in fact furries. And the result of this is that I think that over time the definition has expanded to include just about any anthropomorphized anything, because there's just a shared set of characteristics between the people who like those things, the ways that they draw them, the types of media they consume, and, well, quite frankly, their fetishes, which is something that most people don't want to talk about, understandably. Anyway, I will admit that when I say things like, the brave little toaster is a furry, I am being provocative.
Would you say that you yourself are an expert on furries?
Is anyone really an expert on furries?
I'm asking if you would call yourself
No.
an expert on the topic.
No.
What kind of experience do you have with furries?
I've spent way too much time online because before, 2014, I didn't have any friends. My experience... Well,
You just say everything so deadpan. I can't keep a straight face.
The result is that, I'm the sort of person who binges any topic I've become interested in, even when it might possibly hurt me. And the result of that is that I end up gaining large indices of otherwise useless information. And in this case, it just happens to be about a particularly provocative topic. So I'm not an expert.
Absolutely.
Just like an amateur enthusiast. The sociological phenomenon of furries is actually very interesting. And I kind of wish I had the training to actually explore it. But I don't. Because political science is and always will be the train wreck that I can never tear myself away from.
So, political science. Earlier in the interview, you mentioned that you're a political science major. What year? Just quick, what year?
I'm a senior standing, but years have no meaning.
Right, right. Okay. So what's the big calling with political science? Like, what are you, conservative, liberal? I mean, you on the left or the right? You voting Democrat, Republican this election? What's it at, man?
I intend to bring about, if at all possible, fully automated luxury gay space communism.
Really?
Yes.
Could you elaborate?
Well, part of it is that I think that the shit that people have to put up with in their jobs is ridiculous. The misallocation of resources in the current global system is absurd. And also, I really, really want a great big shiny robot body.
So, why, well, what makes you believe this way? So clearly you're a political science major. You've got some wisdom here. What's the deal? Why something so extreme?
Because you don't get anywhere by starting your negotiations with half a loaf of bread. Like, if you want to get anywhere in political science, you have to start with pie in the sky stuff. Because that's the stuff that like makes people excited. People don't get excited about compromise. Well, unless they're Clinton supporters, but that's another topic entirely. That was a joke. I should clarify, that was a joke. I voted for Clinton in 2016. Just saying. Please do not send me hate mail. But, I don't know. I was raised as a Christian with strong beliefs in the universality of man and the necessity of a human community. And as I secularized throughout life, those like ideals of loving kindness towards all other beings on the planet just kind of turned into like a political philosophy, and that political philosophy happens to best align with either fully automated luxury gay space communism or maybe more moderately some sort of syndicalist nonsense.
Just for the viewers at home, could you mention what syndicalism means?
Syndicalism is a form of government and economic organization in which essentially everything is run sort of like a union. Like your Winco grocery stores, or your local grocery co-ops, or small independent radio stations, where the governing structure and the people working in the place are the same thing. It's a form of workplace democracy, but one that doesn't necessarily demand strict, direct democracy and allows for managers, though only elected ones.
So, I feel like a lot of people, when they start hearing these words like communism, gay space, metal-bodied toaster communism, space communism, syndicalism, you start talking about union, I feel like a lot of people, they're going to bring up, well, what's the history of communism in the world? You think people are going to bring up names like the Soviet Union, the Gulag system, what was it? Several 100 million killed through the Soviet labor system. They'll bring up things like Argentina. They'll bring up things like Maoist China. How are you going to dispute all of these evidentiary claims they're bringing up that communism kills and that it's something evil? The Red Menace, as you know, the biggest scare of the past century.
Well, the short answer is never happened. But also, like, it's a fair cop, like a lot of at least communist in aesthetic regimes have done some really fucked up shit. And that's why I'm not a fucking Marxist-Leninist or a Maoist. Fucking tanky scrubs. Tankies are welcome to send me hate mail. I'll burn it for warmth. But the problem is that the deaths created by communist governments have been well publicized, whereas the deaths caused, albeit more indirectly, by capitalist governments every day just aren't. Because this is a case of man bites dog. You know, when a dog bites a man, that's not newsworthy. But when a man bites a dog, that's newsworthy. So, generally, the like deaths of homeless people or diabetic people or mentally ill people or, you know, black people at the hands of cops are just sort of regarded as inevitable, politically neutral. But to be honest, I regard them essentially as the result of the actions of the capitalist state. They would not occur without the unique interaction of government power and moneyed power that exists in the current government, current global hegemony today. I know I'm pulling out a lot of the big words, trying not to start speaking the political science lingo, which is often pretty fucking ivory tower and very alienating to most people.
NW, big eye in the sky, big brother, all that type of stuff.
Oh boy. See, the thing is, we already have a new world order. It's just really dumb. They're just really fucking stupid.
How do you feel about AI, man? How do you feel about like the big tech industry?
Well, on the one hand, I personally welcome our new AI overlords. But also, the fact of the matter is that AI are susceptible to the prejudices of the people who program them. And maybe there are ways of like compensating for that and like filtering that out in successive generations of AI, especially AI-designed AIs. But the fact remains that if your first principles are flawed, all the logic that you build off of your first principles are also going to be flawed. And computer programming, especially AI creation, is just logic. It's complicated logic, but it is nevertheless logic. And you know, it's possible, I think, that by some fluke or maybe deliberately an instrumentally useful AI with human-like consciousness will be created under the current system, maybe.
Quick pause. I'm just going to hit record and re-record on the camera. Make sure the time stays good. It will only record for 20 minutes at a time.
So I think it's possible that we'll end up with something like fucking Data from Star Trek or something. But chances are, if he's designed by the people who currently run like the big tech companies, he'll like, I don't know, be unable to see black people or something because it's overwhelmingly white, and they just don't think to factor in like black people or women or gay people because it's not part of their experience, not something that they think of on a daily basis. Of course, the like liberal way to fix that would be to just force inject or, I don't know, opportunize more diversity into the tech sector, whichever you prefer. But, like, unless you are somehow going to regiment a completely and totally diverse tech sector with, like, a cross-section of every single facet of humanity, I think it's probably just better to, like, move away from the profit motive, because money makes people stupid, especially big money.
How do you feel about Elon Musk? Communism on Mars 2040?
Elon Musk is a classic example of money making people stupid. It's not that he is an unintelligent person. He clearly has ability and talent in computer programming, seeing as that's how he made his money in the first place. But as he's gotten richer, he's become increasingly estranged from reality, which is just sort of a thing that happens with rich people unless they deliberately go out of their way to avoid it. The more money you have, the more insulated you are from the outside world. And frankly, in the modern system, the more insulated you have to be, because people are constantly coming after your money. So the only way to deal with that is to insulate yourself. You see how I kind of feel like this whole thing is a little bit fucked? You know, it leads people into behaviors that, while rational, also end up with bad results for both them and society as a whole. Anyway, the other thing about Elon Musk is I really, 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 really wish that things worked the way he thinks they work. Because it would make life so much easier, you know? Like the whole Boring Company loop tunnels thing. Like if you literally could just drive a tunnel for every individual car under the island of Manhattan in order to solve the traffic problem. If that had any possibility of actually working, it would mean that things in our universe would be so vastly different from what they actually are that life in general would be, I mean, it's like Minecraft, basically. Like he's applying Minecraft logic to real world logistics problems. And God, I wish Minecraft was the real world, because, well, it's just, who doesn't want Minecraft to be the real world? Infinitely reshapeable, like no loss of resources. Anyway, gravity optional. Boy, that would be nice.
Let's say right now you got a call from Elon Musk, and he said, Riley, I've got a job for you. I'm sending the first ship to Mars tomorrow, and I need a new leader for the colony. I need someone to go build human civilization. I need someone who really knows what's right and how the world should be run. And I need him to go make a utopia on Mars. Do you feel like you're the man? You're the man to make that communist gay space utopia.
I would rather shoot myself in the fucking head.
Why is that?
One of the reasons that I like democracy is because it means that I don't have to make all the big decisions. Like, I consciously want to avoid being a leader because it's just too much responsibility for one person. And, like, I particularly have problems that would just make it suck for everybody if I was placed in charge of any significant portion of humanity. At least solely in charge. Like, I don't know, if you want to make me like some sort of middle manager, I guess I'd be competent enough at that.
Middle manager of gay communist Mars.
Yeah, just don't ask me to design a new society from the ground up. I'll be happy to help administer it, but I'm utopian enough to like want a new system, but just not really smart enough to actually imagine what it would look like in toto.
You just know it's not capitalist.
Well, I mean, what's the alternative? You know?
You're the political science major.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like the modern capitalist system is all about there is no alternative. There is only this forever and ever and ever and ever. There's an article and actually a book written by a guy named Francis Fukuyama called The End of History and the Last Man, which proposes that literally the final form of human civilization is liberal capitalist democracy. And that is the most horrifying thing I can think of next to like a literal 1984 style authoritarian ingsoc bullshit nonsense. Because while the world isn't as shit as it would be under literal fascism, it's still really fucking depressing. Holy shit. Anyway, Fukuyama's like changed his mind now and like is embarrassed about writing that book. So I guess props to him for like realizing that he kind of indulged in youthful enthusiasm. Keep in mind this was in the 90s and the Soviet Union had just fallen, and yeah, it was different. Nonetheless, I still kind of hate Fukuyama a little bit because I had to read the paper and it just sucked. It's like, imagine the most mediocre person you know. Not bad.
Most mediocre.
Just the most middle of the road, boring, technical-minded, obsessed with sort of ticking boxes kind of thing. Like, that's the world that Francis Fukuyama imagined in The End of History in The Last Man. Like, not only is the world run by that sort of person, but everyone is that sort of person. That's another case of I would rather shoot myself in the fucking head.
So, as opposed to this society of mediocrity, let's say if you could have written that book instead, if you could predict the absolute future of mankind, 10 years from now, you wake up, you get out of bed, and you look out the window, what do you want life to look like? Like, what should it be like outside?
Well, first of all, it'd have a big, shiny metal robot body, preferably nuclear powered.
Of course.
Yeah, why not,
Hydrogen powered, actually.
Yeah, fusion.
Yeah.
I have some thoughts about fission power, but this is not the time nor the place. 10 years from now, I don't know. Honestly, not much different aside from like.
This is your utopia, man. This is what
Don't ask me to fucking wave a magic wand.
No, that's the question though. The question is in an ideal world.
Fuck. I don't know, just fucking people live closer together, both metaphorically and literally. More fucking green spaces, like actual green spaces, not lawns. Hopefully, pollution either like reclaimed into useful materials or eliminated. Nobody dies of exposure or because they don't have the medications they need to literally live. Somebody at least is building the first space habitat for permanent habitation, and it's open to pretty much anybody who can pass the fitness test regardless of place of birth or whatever. More solar panels. I mean, not necessarily in Alaska. That has its own problems, but significant preparation and global support networks for disasters, both the earthly kind, as in typhoons, earthquakes, volcanoes, etc., but also extraterrestrial stuff like solar flares / coronal mass ejections, asteroids. Fuck, I don't know, if we're gonna go crazy, why not figure out a way to defend ourselves from fucking gamma ray bursts? That would be nice.
You believe in aliens?
Do I?
Yeah. Are they out there? Are they here?
Here?
Yeah. Where are they?
If there's anything I would describe as alien here on Earth, it's probably in the sediment next to a geothermal vent in the middle of the fucking Pacific. As for alien life throughout the rest of the universe, chances are, yeah, probably. And God, I hope they figure out a way to break Einsteinian relativity in a way that doesn't also break causality. Though, to be honest, I'd be willing to give up causality for faster than light travel.
Well, once you give up causality, essentially you're able to traverse the fourth dimension at any speed.
Yeah, exactly. That's my. Anyway, if there are aliens out there listening, please let us know why Einstein was wrong, because fuck, I want Einstein to be wrong so badly when it comes to faster than light.
You think Einstein was a comrade?
Einstein was a self-professed socialist. He encouraged fucking FDR to make the atomic bomb, but to be fair, he was intending that it be used on Nazis, so sure, maybe he's not an Antifa super soldier, but his heart was there.
His heart was there. Quick camera check. Let me see my dad looks. Says I want to get. Let's go. Okay, I got 2/3 battery. Let's go ahead and do another. Okay, we got 20 more minutes now. You don't know the half of it. As long as you want to talk, that is.
I honestly am gonna run out of voice and things to say pretty soon, but
anarcho-capitalism.
God, no.
Recreational nukes.
No. My counter proposal to recreational McNukes is mandatory personal nukes. The government assigns a nuke to every single person, and every single person has the discretion to set it off whenever they want. It's the ultimate logical end of the an armed society is a polite society idea. Because, if every single person on Earth is capable of starting a global thermonuclear exchange, who would ever be rude or assault anyone else?
Do you have a nuke?
Fuck no. Don't give me a goddamn nuke.
Why everyone?
It's it's called an argumentum ad absurdum. You paint a logical outgrowth of a person's argument that is so absurd that it has to be rejected. It doesn't always work sometimes is pretty fallacious because the picture that you paint is not necessarily connected to the original theory being proposed, but still a valid argumentation tactic when done right. But no, I should not be given a nuke. Are you kidding me?
Who should have the nukes?
No one. Like, for real, no one should have nukes. They just, no. It's like fucking... Okay, there should be one nuke in the Smithsonian. Just so that people can see what they looked like. But, like... If... Nobody should have nukes, but if one person is going to have them, everybody should. Because... like... It's one of the, it's a binary of and in the middle of the binary is just the worst shittiness possible. One end of the binary is definitely shittier than the other, just saying. That the option of everybody being able to start a global thermonuclear exchange is a bad one, but still better than the stuff that's in the middle because, you know, maybe after we're all dead an actually sensible species like raccoons or something will grow up to fill our shoes. By the way, I firmly believe that should we wipe ourselves out, raccoons will inherit the earth. They have little people hands, you see. People keep saying octopus, and I'm like, I see why you say that, but like...
Raccoons, man.
Raccoons!
No other option.
Some people think that raccoons are disgusting, so I usually compromise with opossums, because they're basically like raccoons, but they
scream.
They scream. They scream and eat ticks. They're very good boys. Anarcho-capitalism is such a fuck. You can't have capitalism without a state. You just can't. It's not capitalism without the ability to issue currency or... God, don't bring up the fucking blockchain. I'll blow my brains out. And without, like, a state to run the courts and the police system. It just... There's no property without state violence. Otherwise, you just have people fighting each other all the time. Anyway. Anarcho-capitalists are also welcome to send me hate mail. Libertarians can stay, but they're on thin fucking ice. And voluntarists are wholesome, if dumb.
So, I'm pulling up... Sucks. Hold on. It's hard these days, you know, working as a freelance interviewer. So on the topic of blockchain.
Jesus Christ, what is it now?
I'm reading an article from Forbes here, and I'm just saying here, you know, you seem to have a problem with like bit boys and the cryptocurrency revolution.
You realize that Bitcoin mining consumes more electricity than most nations on Earth, and is significantly contributed to global warming as a result.
Bill fucking Gates himself, co-founder of Microsoft, investor and philanthropist. Bitcoin is a technological tour de force. How do you feel about that statement?
Bill Gates is a fucking moron who made his money essentially by enclosing the digital commons and using state force to do it.
It says here, Bitcoin is the most important invention in the history of the world since the internet.
blockchain has uses outside of the world of finance, but Bitcoin will never be anything more than a glorified commodity. I know I'm taking the risk of sounding like fucking Paul Krugman when inevitably in 20 years everyone buys everything with Bitcoin, but I would rather live in a world where Bitcoin, no, just another case of I'd rather blow my brains out. Not because I have anything particularly against Bitcoin. Well, I kind of do, but like, it just, it's just gold hoarding for millennials. It's just gold coins from millennials. It's digital. It's worse than that because you can't make like computer circuitry out of digital coins.
How would you feel about a communist society that used Bitcoin?
If it uses currency, it's not communist. That was kind of a joke. There's proposed models, but Bitcoin particularly just it would not be Bitcoin as we understand it today if it was an actual communist society. Because
You think Stalin would have been a bit boy if it had been around his time?
Abso-fucking-lutely. Are you kidding me? Stalin was the most credulous dipshit who ever lived. You kidding me? He got taken in by the fucking Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Like, seriously, Joe? Seriously? You thought the Nazis were gonna fucking honor that agreement? What a dipshit.
And that invasion of Finland, man. I mean, what a fucking drop of the mic, man. I mean, just if he had used Bitcoin, maybe he would have won the Winter War, you know?
To be fair, I'm pretty sure the Finns do love Bitcoin, so you could be right. Bet you could buy a lot of Pervitin with Bitcoin.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go to my closing segment here. So Riley Hickman, you have been an absolutely wonderful guest here on a perfectly regular day in Alaska. You provided me with some wonderful, very entertaining insight and commentary into life as a political science major here in Fairbanks, Alaska. Before I let you go, though, I'm going to go ahead and do two things. So first of all, I've got one final question for you, and then I'm going to go ahead and just give you about 2 minutes, minute to 2 minutes, say whatever you want to say, rep your sponsors, rep your organizations, call out your friends, man, whatever you want to do. Just those last ching, like, kapow, here's my identity. Yeah. So first off, though, let's get this final question here. Who are you voting for in 2020?
I'm going to caucus for Bernie, and if he doesn't get the Democratic nomination, I'm writing in Vermin fucking Supreme, motherfuckers.
Yes! Yes! Free ponies for all!
And mandatory dental care.
Damn straight.
Anyway, look at the goddamn IWW. They're the bee's fucking knees.
Who are they?
The Industrial Workers of the World. It's a union organization that is like the Alpha Chad of I fully expect to be taken horribly out of context and have every single one of my words mangled and mashed. So
I'll try not to make it too long.
I just want you.
I do have to cut about 40 minutes of content down to about a minute and a half. So.
I just want to say, in conclusion, Townsville sucks.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Ryan. You've been a wonderful guest. Thank you. Beautiful. You're a gold mine. I'm blading